Human beings are comfortingly blind to the origins of their own habits. We move through the modern world assuming that our standard procedures, our daily rituals, and our medical institutions are the absolute pinnacle of human logic, scientific progress, and safety. If you walk into almost any maternity ward on Earth today, you will witness a global standard that looks completely unquestionable. A woman, preparing to bring new life into the world, lying flat on her back, knees up, completely exposed, fighting the natural forces of gravity. To the modern eye, this is just medicine. This is just how it is done. But if you ask a modern physiologist or an evolutionary biologist about this specific position, they will tell you something deeply unsettling. Giving birth flat on your back makes absolutely no anatomical sense. It narrows the birth canal, slows down labor, and forces the body to push uphill against the literal physics of the earth. So why do we do it? Because this universal medical standard wasn't invented by a council of visionary scientists, a panel of doctors, or a modern medical breakthrough. It was popularized 3 centuries ago by one single absolute ruler who possessed a dark, unhinged, and deeply disturbing voyeuristic fixation. To understand how the private bedroom whims of a long-dead monarch could dictate the global medical landscape of the 21st century, we have to travel back to France in the mid-1600s. Specifically, we have to step inside the golden cage of the Palace of Versailles. This was the absolute domain of King Louis XIV, the Sun King, a man who did not merely believe he was chosen by God to rule France. He genuinely believed he was a god. Louis was the longest reigning monarch in European history, and he built Versailles for one singular obsessive purpose: absolute, unquestioned control. At Versailles, Louis controlled everything. He controlled what the nobility wore. He regulated how many buttons could be on a coat. He dictated who could sit in his presence, who had to stand, and exactly how many seconds a man had to bow. He turned the entire French aristocracy into a theater troupe where he was the permanent director, lead actor, and sole audience member. Nothing happened in the kingdom without his eyes upon it. Before we uncover the exact, graphic command he gave his doctors, honestly, look at your own life right now. Drop a comment below. What is one modern rule or tradition you follow every day that you've always suspected is complete nonsense? Let's see if anyone can guess where this is going. Beneath the grand tapestry of political genius and absolute autocracy lay a man driven by insatiable personal desires. Louis XIV was a legendary, unstoppable womanizer. While he was married to Queen Maria Theresa for political alliance, his life was truly dictated by a revolving door of high society royal mistresses. Women like Louise de la Vallière and the fiercely ambitious Madame de Montespan. Over his lifetime, these affairs resulted in the births of more than 22 children, and as the halls of Versailles continuously filled with pregnant royal mistresses, King Louis XIV developed a highly unusual, intense psychological fixation. To fully grasp the nature of the king's fixation, we have to look at how human beings actually gave birth for the first 10,000 years of civilization. Historically, women used gravity to their advantage. Across almost every ancient culture, women stood, knelt, squatted, or sat upright on custom-carved wooden structures known as birthing stools. The birthing stool was designed to keep the mother upright, allowing gravity to naturally assist the process. It was a practice completely dominated, protected, and managed by women, specifically traditional midwives who passed down generations of practical anatomical knowledge. But when Louis XIV's mistresses went into labor using these traditional, low-sitting stools, the king faced a frustrating obstacle. He wanted to witness the exact moment his genetic legacy entered the world. He wanted to watch the mechanics of the birth firsthand. However, the structural layout of the traditional birthing stool, combined with the heavy, voluminous layers of 17th-century linen sheets, meant that his view was entirely blocked. The midwives crowded around the floor, the sheets draped over the mother's knees, and the absolute monarch of France was left standing in the dark. For a man who viewed himself as the center of the universe, being excluded from the room was an intolerable insult to his ego. Louis XIV did not change his desires to fit the world, he changed the world to fit his desires. In the late 1660s, Louis brought in elite male physicians, including the most famous French doctor of the era, François Morisot. The king issued a direct, unyielding royal command. The traditional birthing stools were to be permanently banned from the royal chambers. What happens next changed the course of human biology. If you want to uncover more dark, hidden layers of history, that the textbooks intentionally left out, hit that subscribe button right now. We drop deep dive historical exposés exactly like this every single week, and you won't want to miss our next case. Instead of the stool, the king demanded that his pregnant mistresses be placed flat on their backs, elevated on high, narrow wooden tables. This position solved the king's entire problem. By raising the woman onto a high table and forcing her flat, the drapes fell away, the midwives were pushed to the side, and King Louis XIV could stand comfortably behind a screen with a completely clear, unobstructed front-row view of the entire biological process. Now, a critical question arises: why did the medical community go along with a position that they knew was anatomically counterproductive? The answer lies in a bitter, historical gender war for the control of medicine. For centuries, male doctors were completely excluded from the realm of childbirth. It was considered strictly women's work. But during the 17th century, a new class of male surgeon-barbers was desperately trying to take over the lucrative medical market. The king's strange new demand provided these male doctors with the ultimate golden opportunity. They quickly realized that if a woman was sitting upright on a birthing stool, the midwife on the floor held all the control. But if the woman was forced flat on a high table, the male doctor could stand comfortably, use new tools like forceps, and take complete physical authority over the delivery. In 1668, Dr. Morisot published a massive, highly influential medical textbook. In it, he heavily praised and promoted the flat, reclined position as the absolute best, most advanced method for delivery, completely leaving out the fact that it was originally mandated to satisfy the voyeuristic ego of his employer. The trend spread from the nobility to the wealthy merchant class. From the cities, it seeped into the rural villages. By the way, look closely at that historical medical sketch on the screen. Drop a timestamp in the comments if you spot the subtle error the 18th century illustrators kept making. Because high society French nobles did it to please the king, commoners assumed it was the elite, sophisticated, safest way to bring life into the world. By the time the foundations of modern Western hospital systems were being built in the 19th and 20th centuries, the supine position was so deeply baked into medical textbooks that no one even thought to question its origin. Today, modern medical science has finally caught up with history. Dozens of contemporary physiological studies confirm what ancient midwives knew thousands of years ago. Forcing a body to deliver flat on its back physically fights the Earth's gravity, restricts blood flow, and can prolong intense labor by hours. Yet, walk into almost any hospital today, and the tables remain flat, the stirrups remain raised, the ghost of Versailles still completely dictates the modern human experience. It is the ultimate historical mind game. Millions of people across the globe have entered the world through a process engineered entirely because a 17th century French dictator wanted a better view from behind his curtain. We are born into a system built on a royal craving. But Louis XIV wasn't the only absolute monarch who let his bizarre personal impulses completely rewrite human history. If you think the birth position is unhinged, click the video on your screen right now to discover the royal king who literally ate himself to death on premium pastries, altering an entire European empire over a single dessert. Hit subscribe, click that video, and I'll see you there.